Hello there. How you guys doing? Happy Wednesday. Hope you've all had, well, a good 2025 since today is the last day of the year. Everyone excited for the next year? I mean, for me, I'll hopefully be quite productive next year. So, for example, Windows still need some sort of covering, and it is in the works, but like it's the long process. Ended up being a longer process than I expected, but yeah, lots to do. Also, a entire background to design, so yeah, plenty of work for future me, but current day me doesn't have to worry about that because it's a different year than the one I'll deal with all of that in. So, yes. Um, yeah, almost 30 degrees for, well, New Year's Eve. That sounds quite toasty. But I guess for people who like spending New Year's outside, that can be nice. I personally prefer to be inside, but uh, over here it's also very much fireworks season this time of year, and I prefer not to really be out in all of that. So, yeah. Like, tomorrow is going to be the traditional everything is covered in, like, smoldering, like, paper and plastic bits and, like, wooden sticks because of all the fireworks. So, yeah, it's gonna be great. Every year, just so much littering. Because it feels like nobody really cleans up after their own fireworks. So, in case any of you are planning on setting off fireworks, do try to also clean up the remnants, because oh boy, it's a lot of stuff every time. So, yeah, that's like definitely one of my bigger complaints. But like, yeah, you'll see the remnants of the New Year's fireworks at least for the next few months. So, yeah. Like they're not setting them off right this second, but it is, well, a bit too bright at the moment. But they have been setting off the like firecrackers or whatever they're called. So if you hear random banging sounds, odds are it's because of people thinking that random explosion sounds are fun. So yeah, that is quite possible that we'll be hearing some of those over the next few hours, but I think fireworks, not yet at least. So, yes. Yeah, fireworks getting banned, I mean, it's a nice idea. Uh, we'll see if an actual like countrywide ban ends up happening and if that actually ends up working. Because at least like some types are currently banned and people still import them anyway. So, yeah. And if there's a lot of people doing the same thing, even if it is against the rules, like, who's gonna have the resources to dedicate to telling everyone off or setting off fireworks that they're not supposed to set off? So, yeah, we'll see. Because supposedly they are, like, in the process of banning it. Potentially, this is the last year that fireworks are going to be allowed. But, yeah. I don't know. I'll just have to wait and see to see if it's any different next year. But yeah, I don't know if it's across the entire EU. If it is, I mean that would be great because it would make it a lot more difficult for people to get fireworks if like all the countries agreed that it's probably better without fireworks. Like, over here with well, probably not so much this year, but some of the previous years, it was really noticeable that the smoke from all the fireworks was making it so it would get really foggy. So the smoke, basically the water particles, would stick to the smoke. Well, the water molecules would stick to the smoke particles in the air and just make it easier for fog to form. And yeah, makes it even more dangerous because then there's people setting off fireworks in dense fog and not really seeing what they're doing, and there's like cars still driving on the roads and people setting off fireworks in the streets. And there's also a tradition of like basically making bonfires in the middle of the road. Uh, yeah, I'm gonna stay out of all of that because I personally feel they go a bit too far with all of that. That and my lungs don't really like all the smoke inhalation, so yeah. Yeah, I don't know all the details of the tradition, but yeah, basically building a bonfire out of like random wooden like crates and whatever and setting it on fire. Like, I'm not sure if it's still allowed. I don't know if it's like only allowed in some areas. I don't know if it's a tradition that's just slowly being discontinued. Quite possible. Regardless, I have seen several of them over the years, and yeah, I personally, I'm not very pro build a bonfire in the middle of the road in dense fog because that can cause issues. So, yeah. How many hours left for me? That would be, well, 12 hours and 40 minutes. So, yes. Um, yeah, the dropping uh the red bulb thingy at Times Square, I think. So in New York, I think that is still a thing. Then yeah, like there's lots of different traditions. Of course, there's all the official fireworks. Like I'm perfectly fine with the official fireworks because done by professionals and it's not people going like, what happens if I put fireworks in a mailbox or in the sewer system or a trash can? Because there's a lot of that happening, and that I'm against that part. Like, I read an article about how in Austria, apparently, a kid was hiking with his parents, and the kid was setting off like firecrackers and started a forest fire. So, yeah, I'm just against amateur fireworks. Because, oh boy, people cannot be trusted with those, or at least a fair number of people can't be trusted with them, and I feel like it's not worth the risk. So, yeah, it's like also like badly made ones that then like fall over and like instead of shooting up into the sky, they shoot like just across the road and then explode somewhere. So, yeah. I've just seen it go quite wrong. Like, I haven't seen any major injuries, but I've seen a fair number of close calls of like someone thinking the firework won't go off and then running towards it and then it goes off. But luckily, everyone was fine. But yeah, and no, it's CET at the moment. CEST is specifically summertime, but yeah, yeah, over here, it has been quite dry, so I don't know the exact moisture level outside. Like I don't know the humidity at the moment, but it hasn't been raining as much as it usually would, and the ground did look quite dry. So I hope that because it is still on the colder side, that stuff isn't going to be very flammable. But yeah, not much you could really do about that. Like, if uh, all the plants are just kind of dried out, then people are still going to set off the fireworks. Like, even in bad weather, when there's been weather warnings and official fireworks were cancelled, people still set off fireworks. So, yeah. Yes, we're all safe indoors, staying indoors as much as possible. And, yeah. Yeah, leaves and, like, dry, like, grass and stuff, because a lot of grasses just, they just, make their seeds and then they just die off and look kind of, nice in fall, but I have a feeling they're probably on the flammable side. So, yeah, just hoping for the best in that regard. So, in case any of you are in a similar situation of it being kind of dry outside, if you've got anything outside that you might want to take inside just in case, or anything to potentially prevent fires, this is your reminder to do that, because, better to do it now than regret it in a few hours. So, yeah. But overall, I'm just hoping that people will behave and everything's going to be fine. But, there's always risks. I just hope that, like, I don't actually know what the legal age to buy fireworks is here. And I hope that they only sell them for, like, people 18 and higher, 18 and up, not like the 12-year-old starting a forest fire type situation. But I don't know, I've never bought fireworks, so I'm just hoping. But anyhow, well, currently outside there's a giant ball of fire known as the sun, so that's currently being quite bright out there. But yeah, other than that, not much going on, probably because people are sleeping in so that they can stay up all night and then probably not go to bed till like 3 or later, and probably drink outrageous amounts of alcohol. Yeah, all of that are totally exactly my plans for New Year's Eve. Definitely. But my personal plans: having snacks, probably watching something, staying indoors. So, yeah. And potentially being awake at midnight. But it'll just depend on how tired I feel. And, yeah. Like, I've been up since, I think, 4? So, not 3, and not earlier than 3 either. So, I might be able to be awake for, well, at least until midnight. But, yeah. One way to find out. And if it ends up being really noisy outside, then it's going to be more difficult to fall asleep anyway. Thank you for the gift sub. 152 gift subs in the channel. That is a lot of gift subs. Thank you for that. But yeah. Anyway. This year was definitely quite busy for me, like, moving again. Like, I only just moved in 2022, and now again in 2025. I don't really enjoy moving. It's kind of similar to trying to reinstall Windows. Like, it's so much effort, and things break. And then you need to set everything back up again, and figure out how to make things work. So, yeah. but it's still a work in progress. Like, there has been an amount of progress. Like, as I've mentioned before, finally found the other Christmas hat. And, yeah, like my moving boxes are still definitely a giant mess. And I'll probably, until I've emptied all my moving boxes, I'll keep on having issues finding most things that are, well, still in the boxes. So, yeah. I would have had to make some very precise, like, lists of what's in each box, and I didn't. And, yeah, can't really change that now, so just rolling with it. But, yeah, hopefully in 2026, I'll be able to empty the majority, at least, of my moving boxes. But yeah, it'll take a while. But either way, yeah, the moving is really, really stressful and just also physically exhausting because, well, it's a lot of stuff. You only really notice how much stuff you have to move when it's all packed up and you go, huh, how did all that fit? So, yeah, I'm at the stage of how do I make all of that fit again? Because not sure at this point, but future me's problem. And since today's a special occasion, I made myself some tea. Thank you for yet another gift sub. Very, very generous. But yes, it's like a forest fruit tea. And it's one that's not actually available over here. But there is at least one company that sells them here. So that's nice, at least. Would be nice if they just sold fruit tea here, but apparently it's not popular. But yeah. Yeah, it's like forest fruit, so like different berries. Yeah, it's very cozy. And the other thing that we'll be doing today, other than just playing Ultima 9, which, yeah, no, I'm still not playing the game yet. It's a longer talking segment than usual. But I set up something. So let's see. I switch over here. And then I move that around. There we go. So, yes, I made a tier list. I haven't filled it in yet. And yes, I made it at least somewhat custom. So, yeah, I'm at least a tiny bit proud of the effort I put into the tier list. But yeah, we played quite a few games this year. I'll pull up the list. So, for games that I started in 2024 but finished in 2025, we have Ultima 7 Serpent Isle. Then we've got Mass Effect 1. And we've got Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic. So, all of those I played, well, right at the end of last year, start of this year. So, I always feel like I can't really fully rank games until I've played the game all the way through. And, well, with those, I now have done that. So, let's try and get those games over here. I'm just putting them on screen for now. So that's Star Wars, then where do we have Mass Effect? There's Mass Effect. And then still need Ultima. Where is that one? Think. Yes, there it is. So, I would say, out of the two Mass Effect games, I really did prefer the first one. So, I think I would personally even go as far as to put the first Mass Effect game up here. Like, yeah, already starting with a high ranking, but like, it is a really fun game. I do think that, like, it's not necessarily my favorite genre overall, but I think it was quite well made, and I think that the way the franchise continued is just not what I personally expected. But yeah, I did definitely enjoy it, and like the personality of the characters and stuff. So yeah, that was definitely a good one. So I'll just try and be a tiny bit more precise. There we go, good enough. And then Knights of the Old Republic. I do think that one, if I remember right, it was like it's the same company as the Mass Effect franchise. I did definitely like a lot about the game, like the fact that you can choose different sides. So it was definitely still a very strong one, but I think it was a bit too janky to get a 5 out of 5. So I think that one's, at least for now, gonna be a 4 out of 5. And I can still rearrange things as we go. Then Serpent Isle. So, I mean, out of the Ultima games, like I've been playing, come on, let's there. That's a more fitting size. Like, I feel like, oh, it's 5 points is the best, and 1 is the worst. I know the color scheme is weird, but this is the color scheme people use for tier lists. So, the top of the list is best, bottom of the list is worst. There. So, exactly. But the thing is, it's points, so it's not gonna just be 5 games. I played a lot more than 5. So, doing a top 5, but then it's like, I don't know, 10 games in the first spot, it's gonna be a bit weird. So, I'm basically rating them, well, out of 5 points, 1 being the worst, 5 being the best. Anyhow, Serpent Isle. I believe Serpent Isle, let's see. That would have been the one where you travel to Serpent Isle, which is still the same world as Britannia. And I think that's the one where towards the end, like there's the whole thing with I think it was battling again and the Guardian, of course, and Yolo, Shimino, and Dupre, like all of them getting possessed by demons and wiping out an entire village. So that. So I mean, I'd say out of all the Ultimate games I've played this year, but not specifically out of all the Ultimate games I have played, but out of the ones I've played this year, I think this one will have to go up here. But I think the other two won't be. Okay, then next up, the games I started in February. Duke Nukem 2 and The Crimson Diamond. Let's find those. Where are they? There's Crimson Diamond. And then where's Duke? There it is. Okay, so I would say, well, Crimson Diamond, I don't think I'll have to discuss it for very long. Like, I haven't played too many indie games this year, but it is really well made. Like, the pixel art, definitely. Like the fact that it's all like properly cohesive and actually like in the same style as the Laura Bow games. So yeah, also just one developer. So yeah, that don't really have to discuss that one for very long. That's just going up there. Then Duke Nukem 2. I'm not entirely sure what the main differences were between the first and the second game. I mean, of course, different levels. And I'm personally also not very good at platformers. So that might also influence my decision. But I think I did quite like the soundtrack, if I remember right. And I mean, I did definitely have fun playing it, even though I don't really have any skill for platformers. So, all things considered, I mean, I think it's gonna go up here. Mainly because, well, as I said, I'm still not a huge fan of platformers. And some of the boss fights were definitely a struggle. So, yeah. I think 4 out of 5 is pretty good for a platformer that I've played. So, then next up, in March, I started Chrono Trigger and Mass Effect 2. And there's Chrono Trigger. Where's the Mass Effect cover? There it is. Okay. So, I think Mass Effect 2, if I remember right, it didn't really feel like that much of an upgrade in terms of like graphics, because it was released 3 years after the previous one. I mean, it was still very pretty, but like it didn't really blow me away with the graphics being so much better. And I really did feel like the way they changed the gameplay from 1 to 2, it was just exactly going in the direction that I would have preferred it not going in. Uh, so I think I'll go 3. So yeah, like it was still a decent game. I just feel like if they had gone for something closer to Mass Effect 1, I would have liked the game more, but they really doubled down on the shooter side of things, and I feel like they kind of neglected the parts of the game that I really liked in the first game. Then, um, Chrono Trigger. Um, I was definitely struggling a lot with this game. Like this game was tricky. It was testing my patience quite a bit. So I might be biased in that regard. Especially the boss fight. I think it was the final boss fight, but it was like in 12 parts, so it was kind of 12 different boss fights with no option to save in between. Uh, and I just really felt like that was dragging down the rest of the game. So I think just based on my personal experience, I'm gonna have to put it down here. Like, I'm not saying that the game has absolutely no good parts, but that last boss fight, out of all the games that I've played on this channel, not just this year, that boss fight ranks up there in rage-inducing games. So, some parts of the game I did really like, but ending it with that boss fight, yeah. It made me not very eager to play the next game in the series as soon as possible. I do want to continue the series, but that game was kind of exhausting to me, especially the end bit. So, like, there are parts of the game that I really, really like. Just the ending kind of ruined it for me. But it's all personal opinion. Then, Ultima 8. Oh boy. Pagan. And I also played Black and White. There we go. So, Pagan, the first platformer Ultima, and it also had the mechanic of having to perfectly place the reagents for the fire magic. So that was definitely a bit on the mean side at times. But I would definitely say it was still a fun game. And like they tried new things. I think the that game was also definitely one of the jankier Ultima games. Um, like with like the platforming making it so I kept on being able to uh go out of bounds basically and fall through the map. Uh so that whole thing. I also felt like the characters weren't really that fleshed out. Like making progress in the storyline, but none of the NPCs seem to even notice. So, for example, the change of rulership in, I think the city was called Tenebrae. Like, some NPCs just didn't seem to react to that at all. And then later when I made it, so I think it was just raining constantly, people just didn't react to that. Like, especially later in the game, it feels like they just kind of forgot to write any NPC dialogue unless it was, like, necessary to the quest. So it definitely felt unfinished. But, like, there are definitely still parts that I liked. Oh, also everything ending up being through the catacombs. Um, so that was also kind of janky. So, I'm currently thinking somewhere between 2 and 3. Yeah, the jumping puzzles, of course, yeah. But I feel like it really could have been higher on the list. But I feel they kind of let the game down by at least seemingly rushing it a bit too much. To where I think the gaps just were a bit too big. Like the gaps in content that they should have made but didn't. So I think that's going to be another 2 out of 5. But once again, it's not like the game is horrendous. It's just, well, I feel like there was a lot of potential and they didn't really manage to make it happen. So, then Black and White, very janky, very, very janky, but definitely still very fun. But like some of the quests were broken because of how janky the game is. So I feel like I can't give it a 5 out of 5, even if I personally really, really enjoy the game. But I think just to be fair to the other games, I kind of have to lower it to a 4. Because, like, it was definitely the level of janky where it can still be a lot of fun. But the unfinished quests and the kind of broken quests, like, it was a bit too rough around the edges there, and it would have been nice if they just removed the quests that they didn't finish making instead of you trying to do the quest and it just not working. But overall, still a very, very fun game. And, like, the creatures have a lot of personality. Like, they tried to do a lot of things. It's a very ambitious game. I just feel like it could have been just a bit more polished. Even if I really still enjoyed it. Alright. Then, next one. In June, I started Tex Murphy Mean Streets. Yep, there it is. So, so this game was kind of a combination of like an early flight sim, an early like 2D shooter game, a point and click game, and I think it even had like some slight FMV aspects mixed in there. So definitely very, very ambitious. I'll give it that. So I feel like it's like I should appreciate just how ambitious this one was. Because this one's also, I think, the earliest game I played this year. Yes, I believe it is. So this one is from 89. So I feel like I should also factor that in. Like, there weren't as many games out yet as, like, for a lot of the other games, or, well, all the other games on the list. So, like, they're trying and failing at things. I feel like it makes way more sense to do that when there's no role model game out there for that genre. So, like, I feel like it was combining so many genres that it was always going to be a bit janky. But they managed fairly well. Like, I do feel like some of the writing was a bit more rough than it needed to be. So I am kind of leaning towards a 3. Like, it is definitely still a janky game, but yeah, like, it is very, very ambitious. So, gotta respect that. But it has a fair number of flaws. Let's put it that way. Okay, then July. That's when I started Jagged Alliance. There. And Anachronox. There we go. So, let's see. Well, for me, Mass Effect 2 just... Well, comparing it to Mass Effect 1, I just personally feel like it was a step down from Mass Effect 1, even though it was released 3 years later. So that's definitely still factoring into my ranking, but like, they had such a good thing going, in my opinion, with the first game, and I personally feel like they went more generic shooter, and I was very hopeful for that game, and it was a bit of a letdown for me as someone who really liked the first one. So that's my reasoning for why it's in that spot. Like, it's not an objective ranking, this is just my personal opinions. So, let's see. Jagged Alliance. Like, if I were to rank games by difficulty, this would definitely rank at the top, because if you don't save scum that game, good luck. I personally did really like the game. It is on the long side, at least if you don't know where you're supposed to be aiming. Like, with the which sectors to take over, and yeah, but I think it does have some replay value in that regard. So I think I'm personally gonna give it a 4 as well. Just because it's a bit too long of a game. But it really was quite fun. And at least with the save scumming strategy, I really still enjoyed it. Alright, Anachronox. Talk about janky. It's a very, very early 3D game. Definitely. I feel like the game was a bit confused about whether it wanted to be satirical or wanted to be taken seriously. So I think it would have fared better if they had picked one. Because I think at least towards the end, they were trying to do a more serious, like, plot. But it just it goes so far into the silly side. Like, um, the crunchy sock, the crunchy, stinky sock, that whole thing. So there is that. Then, I think this was also the main game that really made me motion sick this year. That one puzzle where it was basically just being stuck on a weird roller coaster type thing. So I'll have to subtract some points for that. So I think it's gonna be on the top end of 2, but it's gonna be a 2. Like, once again, still a fun game. Definitely janky. Still had fun. But it feels like the idea just wasn't fully fleshed out. And they just, like, had a couple of very interesting ideas. But I feel like it could have taken a bit more development time to figure out the whole, like, are we going for satire? Are we trying to be serious? How far do we want to go into, like, teenage boy humor? Because it felt a bit scattered in that regard. It's like they had different writers and they all wanted to do something completely different with the game, and it was just a bit of a mess in that regard. And I was also really struggling to navigate in the game. So, yeah, there's definitely some bits that made it less fun to play. So, but like, I can't just put all of them in like the first 2 spots. I have to also be critical. So, anyway, next game up. In August, I technically replayed, but still, Curse of Monkey Island. Let's see, where's that one? Well, we'll get a 1, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, that's definitely not. It's not gonna be this game. But yeah, I'd say that one's, at least compared to the other games I played this year, maybe not compared to all the games in the Monkey Island series, but that's what we're ranking here. So yeah, compared to the other games I've played this year, it's a 5 out of 5. Okay. Then, next one. Ghost Trick Phantom Detective, which is when I started in September. And also Ultima 9. So, let's see. Like, I'd say Ultima 9, obviously I haven't finished the game yet, so this is just a ranking based on what I've seen of the game this far. It is incredibly janky, but I think it's janky in a more fun way than Ultima 8, if that makes sense. Like, I feel like 9 is more of a funny haha type of janky, whereas 8 is more of a whoops, I fell through the floor again kind of janky. Yeah, the story is, well, is it really a mess? I think the story is just very similar to, I think it would have been either 6 or 7 part 1. Like the one where they follow Batlin I think it's pretty close to that one, and at least one of the earlier games as well, like when the virtues just start being a thing, I think. Or maybe I'm just mixing it up. It's definitely similar to the Battleline one. So, in that regard, like, I'd say the storyline is not groundbreaking, but uh, I think it's still, well, it's definitely fun, which is an important aspect. But it's also a level of janky where at least the setting up was, well, it was one of the most difficult games of this year to set up for streaming purposes. So, yeah, it's maybe not the best game in the Ultima series, but I'd say it's on the higher end of 3 points. Like, it is, in my opinion, an improvement over Pagan, but I haven't finished it, so opinions can definitely still change. But yeah, it's like an endearing level of janky for the most part. Except for when I fall into a well and can't climb back out again and need to cheat my way out. So, yeah, that's definitely taking away some points. All right, Ghost Trick. Like, I think the mechanic in Ghost Trick was quite interesting. Do I think it was a perfect game? No. But I think the writing was really good, which helps a lot. And I just like how they try to do something new with like a point and click type puzzle game. So I think I'm gonna have to put that one as a 5 out of 5. Like, definitely not perfect, but I really like what they did manage to do. But I'd say parts of it, like, dragged on a bit, but that could just be because I was struggling with the controller to, like, aim properly. So if I played it with mouse and keyboard the entire time, I probably would have had an easier time with the puzzles. So I think if anything, I'd recommend not playing it with a controller. Just go mouse and keyboard. It works fine. Okay, then time for the very long list, because it's time for the Spooktober games, and I played quite a few this year. So we've got Alone in the Dark. We've got Dracula. And Black Mirror. And Oregon Trail. And Hobbs Barrow. And well, I started it, haven't finished it yet. Vampire the Masquerade Redemption. And Necronomicon. So, let's see. Since you guys were wondering if I'd rank any game at a 1 out of 5, yes. Yes, I will. Like, out of all the games I've played on stream in general, if I had to rank all the games out of all the years, this would probably still end up being at a 1. So, it's a pretty bad one. Okay, then Alone in the Dark 3. Let's see. Like, I'd say that one, out of the Alone in the Dark games, I felt like the plot was another step down. So, like, it's like set in a Western movie set, but there's also like real cowboy ghosts, and like, it's a very confusing one. And it's also, well, it's a difficult game. And I got soft locked. So there's that. The voice acting at times was delightfully bad. Sounding like they just couldn't be bothered to do a second take. But, like, I'm not sure if it's as bad as a 1. I think it's a 2. And yes, the very repetitive boing 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 soundtrack. That's gonna be stuck in my brain for a while longer. Okay. Then Dracula. Let's do that one next. I'd say it was definitely way better than Necronomicon. And just as a reminder, it was released the year before Necronomicon. So that's quite interesting. Like, I'd say the game was pretty decent. Like, it's just a very specific style of game. Like, the puzzles weren't nearly as bad as Necronomicon, so... it's weird to call it an improvement because Necronomicon was released later, but comparing between Dracula 2 and Necronomicon, Dracula 2, way better. So, I think I'm gonna give it a 4. Like, I'd say it's not quite my favorite style of point and click type puzzle games, but out of the 3D ones, it's definitely not a bad one. So I just really like the 2D ones, but it's a decent version of a 3D point and click type game. So, yeah. Like, I think they did some interesting stuff with some of the puzzles. So, and like having puzzles where like in your inventory you need to combine things and like set the right code and decipher the codes and stuff. Like they had some interesting stuff going with that one. All right, then Hobbs Barrow, or well, excavation at Hobbs Barrow, I believe is the full name. Yes. Oh, the excavation of Hobbs Barrow. There. I would say I personally had some issues running the game, but I think that was specifically because I was running it in windowed mode. But I think overall, that one is gonna have to still be a 5 out of 5. Like, I really enjoyed the voice acting and the writing as well. So that's gonna be up here. Then Black Mirror. I mean, I really did enjoy Black Mirror. Like, to me, Black Mirror was the exact right amount of jank. So I think I'm gonna have to put that as a maybe controversial, but to me it's a 5 out of 5. Because I really enjoyed how hateable the main protagonist is. So, there. Then, Oregon Trail. I think Oregon Trail, like, it's a fun game. It's a fairly short game. Like, they did a good job with what they did make. But, like, I feel like I can't put it on the same level as the other 5 out of 5s, that's for sure. Because, like, it's so much shorter. So, I, I think it's gonna be maybe a 4. Yeah, true. Like, it is well made for a Oregon Trail type game. It is definitely also fun to play. But it is very short. Well, I personally still liked it, so I'll put it on a 4, but yeah, like, it's just difficult to compare it to the other games. Alright, then. I think it's gonna get a bit crammed up at the top. But still got Vampire the Masquerade Redemption. I'd say with that one, like, once again, I am definitely enjoying the game. So, uh, I think the writing is somehow so bad that it is good, but the issues with the gamma settings and just how hidden a lot of things are is just difficult to play on a technical level because of the gamma setting just not really working. But as I said, like, the plot itself is definitely quite good. Like, in terms of so over the top that it's fun. So, like, I'd say it's not quite so janky that it should be a 3, but I'd say it's a 4 out of 5. For now, haven't finished the game. Alright, then we've got 3 more games. So, I'll just put the last 3 on the board for now. Okay. I think Spud is gonna have to go and keep Necronomicon company. Like, it was still fun, but like, like it's not completely useless or something. But it is really rough. But I still enjoyed playing it. Unlike Necronomicon, for the most part. There were still certain points in Necronomicon, but out of the time I spent playing Spud, which I finished in one stream, and the time I played Necronomicon, I think out of, like, hours spent in-game, the hours, like, the number of hours playing Spud were, like, the number of enjoyable hours in the playthrough are higher in the playthrough of Spud than Necronomicon, if that makes sense. Like, Necronomicon was a much, much longer game, and it had very few enjoyable parts. So, like, it's definitely not as low as Necronomicon, but still, it's not a good game. Alright, then. I think Discworld is gonna have to squeeze in there next to Black Mirror. So, yeah, I mean, I could put it into 2, sure, but I guess that it's just not on the same level of bad. Like, it's either on the lower end of 2 or on the upper end of 1. So, yeah. Then Stanley Parable. Like, I personally quite enjoy the game. Like, I'll try and nudge the ones up in 5 a bit more. But yeah, like Stanley Parable, like I think, well, I have played some of the original version, and the deluxe version, I, once again, still haven't finished the game, so I can't really fully rate it. But I think like specifically looking at the ultra deluxe version of the game, I haven't really seen that much that was added to the game compared to the original version. Like, it seems like the one like path that like has the roller coaster and everything, like that's different. But I feel like the best part of Ultra Deluxe is probably still the original game. But you do have to buy it separately. So yeah, and like the thing about the skip button, yeah, I feel like it would have been more fun, that segment with the skip button, if they didn't loop stuff quite so early. And the dialogue of that one did also end up glitching a bit. So, like, I think I would rank the original version of the game higher, but just based on the fact that the Ultra Deluxe version doesn't, at least this far into my playthrough, like, it doesn't seem to add that much. And it is sold separately. And the parts that it did add are, at times, kind of janky and feel like they're not quite on the same level as the original. Yeah, I think I'm gonna have to give that one a 3. So, there we go. Those are all the games I played this year. Or, well, the games I either finished this year, or at least started this year. So, yeah. I've played quite a few games. But, yeah. It's possible that they'll re-release the game again, yeah. But, like, with the Stanley Parable, like, I do really like the narrator. It's not about the narrator. But, yeah, I just feel like they didn't quite manage to match the, like, quality level of the original. Anyhow. But yes. I'd say, like, out of the 5 out of 5, like, some of them compared to all the other games I've played on stream, they might not be a 5 out of 5, but compared to the other games that I played this year, which is what I'm ranking them on in this case, like I have to have some sort of scale. But yeah, out of the ones that I've played this year, there were quite a few good ones. Like, a lot of games got 4 or 5 points. Then like 3 is like still fun games, but noticeable flaws. Then 2 is like I'm glad I've played them, but if given the choice to replay them, I wouldn't. And yeah, the Necronomicon is Necronomicon. Like I wouldn't recommend playing that one. So yeah. Yes, I know it's some of my rankings are going to be controversial. This is basically just my experience based on playing the games once sometime this year. So, yeah, I just really, really struggled with the Chrono Trigger version that I was playing. Like, there was also issues with the UI covering part of the game, but I think that's specifically the Steam release. So, yeah, I might be a bit more biased there, also because of the during the combat, I for a very long time couldn't really figure out uh, how the timing was supposed to work because it was kind of turn based, but you still have to quickly like pick stuff. So yeah, I feel like with Chrono Trigger, I would have ranked it much higher if it was like proper, fully turn-based combat instead of like, oh, if you're in the wrong part of the combat menu, time continues to pass, and if you're in the correct part of the combat menu, then it's basically paused. That was just very stressful. So, yeah, I think fully turn-based would have been a lot easier for me. Or like just a pause button or something to make it so I can properly pause it. Or like maybe a button to switch between fully turn-based and not fully turn-based. I don't know. Like, I don't know how it would have been improved exactly. It was quite a stressful combat system for me. But it was the first game of that specific style that I've played, so that could definitely be part of it. But guess that's my ranking for 2025. Uh well, as I was saying, like this is really just based on my own experience. If there's games on here that you would rank higher or lower, then perfectly fine. So yeah, I played the Steam version and I was quite frustrated with parts of it. So that could definitely be uh, part of why I had such a bad experience with it. But it really is just based on my own experience. Like, I purposefully didn't add in Sims 2 because that's a game I feel nostalgic about. I also didn't add in Spellforce 2, which I did play a bit of this year as well. And what was the last one? Yeah, I also played a bit of Roller Coaster Tycoon. Like, I'm purposefully not adding those in because I feel like those wouldn't have really stood a fair chance against the others. Like, Roller Coaster Tycoon, I don't feel nostalgic about it, but I'm continuing to play it because I like it so much. And Spellforce 2 and Sims 2, I feel very nostalgic about, so those would have been in 5 out of 5, but, like, not a fair comparison. So, I just went with the games that, like, technically Black and White and Stanley Parable, I had played a tiny bit of, and, like, Black Mirror I played a tiny bit of, but I didn't get far. And like Monkey Island I have played before, but so long that that all just blends together. But Anyhow. And like, also, still as a reminder, haven't finished Vampire the Masquerade Redemption, Ultima 9, and Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe Edition. So, all of those rankings are just temporary. Like, it could be that the ending of the game is going to really throw off the ranking. So, quite possible that I'll, like, rank those games again next year. Like, I now have my wonderful tier list. And yes, I can change around the colors and everything if you guys would prefer for next year. But yeah. Either way, that's it for the tier list, for now at least. So let's switch over here.